right, so for this optional video, we're going to go through kind of a lot of small things to kind of wrap up the game, at least for this stage. So for one thing, in order to add more enemies, right, the whole point of blueprints is that you can just drag a blueprint in. So we go to a content drawer, go to our enemies, grab a slime, BP slime, drag that in. You just have to make sure it is on the ground and it's at the right Y. If you do that, and I'll switch to simulate so I can see it, you can see that the enemy doesn't move. I dragged it in, but it doesn't actually do anything, while the other one does. Well, the way to fix that is you simply need to add in a nav mesh. So you go up to add thing, add a nav mesh bounds volume, and you set that up to where you want it to be. To even make that even easier, I'm just going to grab the nav mesh I have for this other enemy over here. I'm going to Control-C, Control-V to copy it and drag that over. And now to simulate again, it now moves back and forth. So that's how you would add more enemies in. Also, I want to show you a different way of doing spikes. So if I go to my content drawer, I go into my tile map, open up my tile map editor, and then I can grab the castle dungeon with the spikes that are here. And if I go to the layer, I can add a new layer in. I'll call this one traps. Right? And it's going to collide. I don't want it to collide. I'm going to turn off collision. And I can draw in the spikes where I want them to be. I'll grab these and put them here. So I drew those into its own layer. Then go to my dungeon map, and I can grab from my content drawer, go to my blueprints, world items. I'm going to grab different traps. So I can take this fall trap. I can drag this in. Place it where I want it to be. Give it the right size. And now it's separate from the actual spikes themselves. It's just kind of a space that is there that I can make this a trap where if my player falls into it, they die. So I can do it as separate items, or as I just did here, use what's already existing and take the tile map and just draw in a space that will kill the player. In order to make this so it doesn't take away all the health, right, I need to select the fall trap that I added here and search for health to lose. And I can see that nothing pops up. So I need to go into my BP base trap, go to my variable down here and hit the little eye icon so that way it is visible and public. So now I can make this one specifically lose only 1 health when I hit it. So just a different way of handling traps. Perks of doing it this way versus the other way that I had shown you are that you can adjust the size to be specific to the location. The downside is you have to set up the fall trap each time, which can get kind of annoying. All right, let's handle the player death that we just had so it doesn't throw an error. So I'm gonna go to my BP player character, open that up, and here we have destroy actor. We're gonna have to do some things instead. So instead of destroy actor, I'm going to delete that. Instead, I'm going to do a get player controller and drag from here, and we'll do disable input. For whatever reason, when I did that, it put the player controller as a target, which I don't want. I'm going to break that connection and I'm going to connect the player controller there. So I want to disable input on the player character from that controller. Compile and save. Now I'm going to run over here and the character died. I now no longer have input. My input does not work, which is kind of what we want. We don't get access to our mouse yet, but that's fine. We've disabled input. Great. We want to play the death animation. I'm going to go into where my slime is, and I'm going to go to open up the ABP slime. And we need to make a override slot for death, the death animation. Right? So we need to do the same thing for our player character as we did for our slime. So how do we do that? Well, first, let's go ahead and go to our content drawer and go to our shader. Open that up. We'll get the animation. Open this up. Open up ABP shader. Go back to my Anagraph. And I'm going to break this connection. And just like with the ABP slime, I'm going to add an override slot. So I'm going to right click override slot. Connect this here. And the slot name, we're going to change to whatever the animation is for death. So I'm going to go to my animation sequence, and it is just called death. So change this to death, file and save. We need to actually have it play the override. So we set it up, but we need to actually have it play it. I need to grab Paper ZD animation, drag this in, and then from here, I need to get the animation instance. Get anim instance. And then here I can do play override, animation override. There we go. We connect this here. And the slot name is, what do we call it? Death. So we play the death animation, and then we set it to be death. And we need to make sure we pick the right one. We want the slot one that says shader, not the one that says slime. So compile and save. And now when my character dies, it should play the animation. And it did, but it didn't stop. It went right back to the idle animation. So we need to make it stop playing for the next animation. Now, there's a couple of different ways of doing this, but we're just going to have the animation play, right? And after the animation is done, we're going to go, let's grab the sprite, drag this in here, get sprite, and we're going to drag from here, and we'll do search for visibility. Set visibility, and connect that here. This will turn off the sprite. So compile and save, and go and kill player. And that turned it off too early. So we need to set a delay. Now the issue is we actually can't use a delay node inside of our lose health function. One of the limitations of functions is that you can't actually put a delay inside of a function, which is kind of annoying. What we can do is add an event. So I'm going to go into my main event graph outside of lose health, my main event graph. I'm going to do custom events. Call this death event. And I'll go back into my lose health, and I'm going to grab this stuff from disable input and play animation override. I'm going to cut this. So Control X to cut, go back to my event graph, and then Control V to paste. And I can connect this here. Instead of lose health, I then, from the branch node, I look for death event. So I trigger the death event. And now in my event graph, I can do the disable input. I can play animation override. I can add a delay node. And I set the delay to be the length of the animation. Then I can grab my sprite, and I can do set visibility. Turn it off. So now this will turn off the sprite after the death animation plays. So compile and save. There we go. Now the player dies. It doesn't pop up with the game over screen. That's a whole extra thing, but this is better than running to an error. All right, and then now let's go and add a goal. Simple little thing just to kind of indicate we're at the end of the level. To do this, I'm going to create a really quick blueprint. Go to world items. I'm going to right click. I'm going to do a new blueprint class. It's going to be a actor. It's going to be BP goal. Open this up. I'm going to add in a box collider. And I'm going to add in a sprite. Actually, let's do paper ZD animation. And then add in the sprite. So I'm going to set the sprite to the flag that I made earlier. Then I'll make the box my default scene root. Paper sprite, I'll scale this down. That way it fits. I want to be still pretty tall though. Drag this up. That's where I want it to be. And the box collision, we can adjust the size of as well. So for the box collision, I'm going to do on component. Yeah, so on component, begin overlap. And if the other actor is, well, how do we do this here? Cast player, BP player character. So from other actor, we'll do cast to BP player character. And then if true, we're just going to play audio. So play sound 2D, and you can make it play a sound. You can import a sound and make it play like a or whatever. And that should trigger when you hit that. For right now though, I'm just going to make it say print string you win, compile and save. I'll take this goal and drag this into my level where I want it to be. I print you win, yay. That works. In order to make that play the animation we want it to do, we can BP goal. You know what, actually we don't even need any of that. So from the goal, I'm gonna actually get rid of the paper sprite and the animation. Instead, I'm just going to add in a flipbook. Nice and easy. So the flipbook to be the flag that I made earlier. You can make that yourself as well. And just scale it down so it fits. File and save. Now I have a flag. That's too small actually, so I'm going to put it back to 1 by 1. And I'll grab my box extends and I will make this taller. There we go. Compile and save. Now I have a goal. Hooray. So for right now, quick and dirty kind of end of the game, but it's something. And it triggers a event. Normally you would have it pop up with a menu or go to the next level, but it is what it is. We didn't get a chance to add in coins, but we have an obstacle course for us to avoid, and with the end goal being get to the end. So I still think that's pretty good. So for this one, thanks.